Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Jesse, Aide, Chiyoko joining you from our usual spot overlooking Vilcabamba. That is the valley behind. We're into June now. It's 7th, 8th, 9th, somewhere in there, early to mid-June. Normally we're fully into dry season at this point in time. We did get a few showers today. Hopefully it stays dry for us for the next hour. And so thanks for tuning in. July 21st is our next Vilcabamba lifestyle retreat. That is a lot of fun. One of the cool things I've noticed is that random people from our past retreats on the YouTube channel will comment about, I didn't even know they liked it this much. Like they'll comment about, someone said the other day, this was one of the top 10 experiences of my life. Wow, thank you. But no, these things have been a blast. They're designed to give you absolute maximum value. They're designed to give you a crash course in person on Ecuador, on Vilcabamba, and they are really a lot of fun. Participants have sort of made probably lifelong friends, out of these retreats. Excuse me. Hosted at Ishkailuma, extraordinarily informational as well as the hands-on feel. Check the link below to sign up for that. We also have a health retreat starting in October. Those announcements will be coming in the next couple of weeks, so get excited for that. Chiyoko is heading that up. Aide will be around as well, as will I and the other members of the team. So really looking forward to that. So again, guys, thanks for tuning in. Today's a funny topic. We're going to talk about dating in Ecuador, dating in Vilcabamba, and kind of what that scene is like, the pros and cons. I don't know if we're going to get into the do's and don'ts, but definitely the pros and cons. It's different, I would say. And so, we all have different backgrounds, different perspectives, come at different times in our life. So we'll have a little diversity of opinion and diversity of thought to share on that topic. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about raising children in Vilcabamba, which I think, over the last few years, there's been a massive influx of families, which has really, really been really cool for me, I think the whole community. There was a time in Vilcabamba where it was a little bit more oriented towards retirees, and certainly retirees still come down, which is awesome. But there's just, I was commenting to a friend, my daughter, actually a friend of ours, but also a parent of a friend of my daughter's, yesterday at what they call the Coliseo, which is really a park. There's a pack of like 20 or 30 kids, and they have a weekly or a couple times a week, they play badminton, and they have this club that they're in and all these different activities that they do together. And my daughter was doing her dance class and then came over to the park where myself and Aide were with our children, our smaller children. And I'm watching this pack of 20 or 30 kids, and we're kind of just talking about it, the parents, of just what a great group of kids exist. There's no troublemakers in the group. There's no one you're worried about, like, oh, is this person going to be a bad influence on my kid? They're doing healthy, awesome stuff. They're tight. They're nice to each other. Like, it's really cool. But there's been, a massive influx of families. So what's it like, raising kids in this town, is something else we'll talk about as well. So ladies, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time. Let's jump right into it. So yeah, so let's start with the dating piece. So let's see. We're in our 40s. Aide is 27. Aide is from Ecuador. Grew up in Aranillas, then grew up in Spain, then back to Ecuador. Me and Chiyoko are from the U.S. Both. I can't say tri-state area because I actually grew up in Vermont, but both northeast U.S. Both moved here from New York City, or, well, I guess not directly. In your case, almost.
Close enough, yeah.
So Aide is my wife, so I met my wife here, and I got married here. I came here single as I'm 40 now, as a 30-year-old. I came here single. So these are kind of you've been here for about a year, Chiyoko.
Almost,
so,
if we round up. We're rounding up here, yeah, almost a year.
Rounding up.
Yeah.
So we all have a little bit different experiences. I lived in Loja for the majority, or about half my 10 years here. I lived in Loja. You came right to Vilcabamba. You've been both Vilcabamba and Loja as well. So yeah, we have, you know, your last real dating was probably high school.
Yes.
so
Yeah,
so
I'm not gonna say much about it, but yes.
so that's kind of where we're coming at this thing from. But you know, I think a lot of people are interested. I think both men and women, you know, who do, you know, maybe don't have a mate or don't have whatever, you know, are wondering like what's it like down there. Sorry, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
I don't want to cut you off though. But
No,
I can
that's
just pick
really
up
it.
what you're saying. Right. All right. We'll pass the ball over. So
Yep.
I think anywhere you live in the world, dating is a really big topic in conversation, right?
Yes.
Anywhere that you go. And so I think the culture is different, and even cities. So I'm American, you know, spent the majority of my life. I can speak to knowing friends throughout the country of the United States. The dating scene is different in New York than it is in Austin, than it is in Denver. And like you hear about these nuances, and it certainly is different when you go to different countries. But in general, I think it's actually, as funny as it might be, it's a really valid topic.
It's important. I mean, you are gonna pick your partner for life, so
Yeah.
you're gonna.
And on that note, so there's partner for life, and then sometimes life goes in an unexpected direction, and that person is no longer your partner for life. So that's the case for me.
I've been through a couple of those.
Yeah, and I think we all can. And it's not just dating and this like, oh, you're 18 or 22 dating. Some people might be divorced and they're newly down here. Some people come here and life has its way and paths go separate and they split up, and now there's two single individuals that used to be married here. And some people, like myself, you know, I count 2 ex-life partners, you know, marriage level, husband level, ex-partners in my life. So as Jesse mentioned, we're in our 40s. I'm 43 to be specific. And in a way, it's given me some spacious time as a human to be around the block a few times. You know, I got married first time when I was in my late 20s. I was 29. And then that lasted a few years, an amazing New York experience, you know, a great life together, and we weren't meant to be together. And then coming here, I had been broken up with my most recent significant ex-life partner for almost a year. Now it's been 2 years or so. And it's like, I'm in such a different stage of life than I was 5 years ago and 10 years ago. And I think this is a cool topic because anyone watching this, like they could be in any stage of life, right?
Exactly.
Single forever, or they could be on the second divorce or something like that. And I think there are a variety of folks in Vilcabamba. I think by and large, it all depends what social circle you kind of run in. But I have the majority of my friends are couples with kids. Not all, but I'd say like probably 80% of my closest friends here, you know, they're couples, they're families, they're young families usually. And then for myself, so I actually cannot speak to dating experience in Ecuador in a classic style. And that's me at this moment of my life, and I think that will change at some point. But like, you know, that's just sort of been how I arrived, was like not with a partner, and then open and seeing. And yeah, that's like my stage of life right now.
Experiencing and settling.
Well, let me ask you. So, as you know, from a female perspective, having been in Vilcabamba 9 months or however long, 10 months, what, like, single female, potentially open to dating, what's been that experience like for you? Like, is there a plethora of options? Is there no options? Is it somewhere in between? Like, is it a good place to look for that, bad place to look for that?
So I'm gonna not answer that question exactly.
Okay.
Because of something, and I think the three of us were talking about this like last week or so, or maybe it's just Jesse after yoga, we're chatting about it. Anywhere you go in the world, there's going to be people who say there's no one to date here. There's no one to date in New York. That's, like, I'm quoting you right now, and it's so true. You're in LA, right? You live in LA. How many millions of people are in LA? Like, oh, there's no good guys out there. There's no good women out there. I think that travels around the world. Like, I've lived in Bali, I've lived in Hawaii, and there's people that would say that. And there's other people who like groove right with somebody.
Yep.
So what I will say is that the population overall is relatively very small in Vilcabamba. You know, we give these stats, 7,000 to 8,000 people in total, 1/4 of which is expats, you know, roughly, very, very roughly. So it's kind of a small pool to begin with. And I think there's tons of interesting characters, but I do find, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say at least 60 or 70 people here, adults, are with a partner, a husband, or with a family or something like that. Like, I don't know what the exact stats are. Drop a comment below if you live in Vilca and you want to update those stats that I just shared. So I think there's no shortage of really fascinating, interesting people here in general.
Mm-hmm.
If you find someone that you groove with, well, that's up to each person to like find their kind of person that they want to date. You know, there's not like a single answer for that.
No, that's a great answer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got kind of the male perspective, which I'll share in a minute, but let's turn it over to you for a second. So you probably got a lot of funny stuff to say, potentially, but you you finished high school in Vilcabamba, then we met shortly thereafter. So you didn't really do like adult dating here, but you saw what all your friends did. You know the culture well. You're from here. You know the whole deal. Any thoughts or comments you
Well,
want to
yeah,
share?
I can say with my experience, like my friends, they got to be with their partners that they were growing with, so it was very close that way. So no, I never see like, for example, when I was single, I had the experience of being like a, attracted by other people, but when I was in that age, I was kind of like 18. I was not really trying to focus myself into that because I had other goals, like studying, finish my college and stuff like that. So I was not really trying to date when I was that age, but yeah, life put you in my path, and that changed everything. I dropped everything. So yeah, no, I think that whatever person that has to meet somebody, look like I came from Spain in 2012, and I met you in 2014, and you came in 2013 and met me in 2014. So I think like if those things had to happen like randomly, like we came here to meet each other, it was somehow, it feels like it was meant to be, like it was impossible other way. I never thought about it. So and how I see those things right now in my life is like you came to my life to teach me the things that I was not as good. So either way, like if it was, I'm telling that every relationship is gonna have their teacher who they are gonna master themselves to become better. So no matter if you are trying to avoid these crazy women that they are in New York or they are in Hawaii or whatever, you're gonna come here and like experience the same thing, because there are things that you have to master, and yeah, you gotta see that it's not coming from the outside. You gotta heal some stuff, and I believe that that's the work that needs to be done in every relationship. Like that's why like you cannot really drop off or give up because you're giving up on yourself when you are doing something like that. You're gonna experience again the new person that's gonna teach you the same thing. So that's my point of view on those kind of things. And we are here to teach each other and master each other. And this is not only for partners. I believe that it's also for friends. We go in circles to meet the right person. That in the beginning is everything good, but when it does, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but when you guys get very close with somebody, you guys can get very close to each other that it bothers you some things, but it's not actually the other person. It's like it's
Your
inside.
triggers,
exactly.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I experience it. So if I have to say something to people, that obviously everyone feels important about this, because people doesn't want to spend their life alone. Like they think it's good to, and it's not for everyone. It's good to have like a partner to grow together in every aspect. So just that will not be your decision. You're coming here to find a partner. If that's the case, I don't think so, because you're trying to find something different. You're gonna find whatever you need to find for you to grow. That's how I see it.
And if you're interested in the more esoteric philosophical side of life, we are actually starting a podcast. Tell me in the comments if you like this name or if you've got a better name, but we're gonna start a podcast potentially titled Esoteric Vilcabamba. What do you guys think? It's gonna be bi-weekly. These ladies are gonna be on many of the episodes. And we're going to have interviews as well with some of the most interesting people in the Valley, or conversations, I should say, with some of the most interesting people in the Valley. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's get into some more sort of funny stuff, and let's talk to the fellas, gentlemen. If you're out there and you're interested in what's dating like in Latin America, what's dating like in Ecuador, what's dating like in Vilcabamba. I've been here 10 years. I did have a year where I was single before I met this lovely lady to my right, and I had a good time during that period of time, and it is super different, right? It's super different. So it has its pros and its cons, like everything. But here's what I'll say about it. In general, this culture produces women who are more traditional than what we're used to, which for me is awesome.
Really?
Right? Yes. So women here are much more likely to take on those traditional roles, right? Of sort of cooking and cleaning and taking care of things, and they're much more happy to play that role than they are now in what we call the developed world or the Western world, where sort of the philosophy of feminism has really, kind of is the prominent belief system, I think, at this point. And it's sort of, there are no gender roles anymore, really, right? Like everybody works, everybody cleans, everybody cooks, everybody takes care of the kids equally, everybody. And that is here to some degree, but in general, not really, right? Women still kind of, their priority often is still kind of looking for a mate, looking for a husband. And the family will do their best to sort of protect her in the meantime. People here also live at home until they get married most of the time. So you get all this kind of funny stuff that comes out of that, right? Like you got the brother and the father doing their best to keep the guys away from the young lady. You got the young lady. You see a lot of kids, for example, you see a lot of young people sitting on the sidewalk outside the house because the boy's not allowed in the house, and they're not allowed to go anywhere together, but they're allowed to sit outside the house where they can be, the eye can be kept on them. And it's not to say that it's a prude culture at all, because it is not. There's men and women sleep together like everywhere in the world. It's not a prude culture in that way either. And I'm just speaking very straight here and direct. As a foreigner, you have extra interest for sure from women. So there's a lot of beautiful women here. There's a lot of women who who are very lovely people as well. They're very kind and kind-hearted people and caring people, and they tend to like foreigners a little bit more. There's a little bit of an advantage, I would say, as a foreigner, mostly just because you're different, right? It's something new, it's something different. It's kind of like when the new kid comes to school, and he has sort of a better chance for a little while anyway, with some of the girls. So it's a fun place to be single as a man, I would say. The country in general. Now there are some opportunistic women, so you can't just pretend that doesn't exist. It does. If people, just like anywhere in the world, there are people and there are women here as well that that are looking for somebody who's got some money, who's got some means, either to marry and have a good life with, or to take advantage of in some way if they can. But you'll sniff that out pretty quickly. It's not difficult to decipher a person's intentions. So I would say really cool spot to be single as a guy, for sure. What else? Oh yeah, Vilcabamba specifically is super interesting. So I agree, a lot of people come here with their partner as foreigners. Excuse me. But it is such an intense place, Vilcabamba, energetically and in other ways. I've seen a lot of people that come, and it's almost like there's capitulation, or there's sort of like you hit the sort of crux, or there's another word I'm looking for that I can't think of, but people sometimes just come and like break up, or they also come and find their life partner, like boom. It's like Carl was one of those, like Carl and his wife Roxy, who you've seen both of them many times, or Carl many times, Roxy a couple of times on the channel. He showed up here from Canada, she showed up here from Canada, boom, they're like found each other, right? And they've been together ever since, which is probably 10, 11, 12 years for them. And you see that a lot as well. So yeah, it's a kind of a magical place in a certain way, I would say. But it can be intense. It doesn't necessarily go one way. It could go either way, kind of thing. So yeah, that's some of my thoughts on that. Anything
No,
to add?
no relationship is easy, so you just gotta keep working on
What do you?
things.
Our relationship's so easy, baby. What are you talking about?
Very, very easy.
I wanted to add about the intensity part of it. And I think, and as you're speaking, both of you, I was like thinking more people who I know here. So I know a lot of folks. I've made a lot of friends here, the different degrees of closeness or kind of just like loose community friends. And I completely agree. We've talked about this before. There is what I call like a magnifying glass of intensity of whatever life experience you're going through. It's like a 5x or 10x here. Just be prepared, and I don't say this to scare anybody away. In fact, sometimes we need to have that to have the breakthroughs. Like you need to have the boom in your life, and that might be a breakup, or it might be finding that like soulful partner. If there's one soulmate for people or many, but you in the kind of dating and like one-on-one relationship worlds, like I think there's the same amplification of intensity that can be found here. It's across the board, but yeah, for relationships in Vilcabamba for sure.
No, I think you guys both like nailed that point. I totally concur. I could add to it, but I think you guys said it well. Let's move on. Unless there's more dating stuff, what about just social life in Vilcabamba? Do you guys have comments on that?
I believe that it's very, very active. I personally am not as active, but not because there is no availability. It's because I'm a mom and I have to prioritize my children. And so it's a little hard for me to like make time for it, especially my kids are very little. So I put value into that. So, but no, if I will, like every time I see I see a friend, I'm like, oh, I forgot I had a friend. Like, but I see it like I want to hang out with my friends, and it's available. It's a pretty small community that we can have close friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's an abundance of social activity, and I really mean this. Whatever walk of life you like. Okay, so it's something I just heard of. I'm guessing you guys know about this. You've been here for ages. This is where I've not been, and I didn't even know this was going on. There's like serious like party, like EDM house music party,
Yeah.
like rave scene. Look at you. Do you know about this?
No.
Like literally on Yumbura Bajo. Like you I don't even.
I mean, I've seen them like on Facebook. I've never been or anything, but
So some of my hiking club friends, their son came with like the cousin, and they're very like young, early 20s, and they saw like an ad or something. Like, where's gonna go? And they said it was amazing. I was like, are you serious? What? I mean, that's so not my scene right now in my life. You catch me 10 years ago or whatever it could be, but I just didn't even know it was available. So things like that, after almost even a year, I'm like, there's even more stuff. And I know if you're a family, kids, there's so many kid-oriented things. Like one mom in my yoga class, she's like, I can't go to all these birthday parties. I just can't.
Oh, that was
She was actually so
Exactly.
stressed out, and she's like, I don't know, I can't say no, and you have to go. And the flip side is like, it's actually amazing because you've got that many friends and that many invitations and that many people you
sometimes
care about. Yeah, it's something I said. It's like I bump into people. For me, at least, there's not enough hours in the day to spend the quality one-on-one time with for everybody who I want to in this little village. So you do what you can, and I don't over socialize. I gave that up like a bad habit, thankfully, a long time ago. Don't overexert myself, but there's a lot of different kind of hangout opportunity.
Yeah. I love doing that. It's just like not my time right now.
Yeah.
But no, before I had kids, like I would love to just spend hours to learn
And it shifts.
learn the other person and see how know their stories. It's beautiful. I love that.
Different phases of life.
Exactly.
yeah, for me, in my personal experience, I've actually never enjoyed outside of like junior high, high school. I've never enjoyed a social group more than I do in Vilcabamba. When you're a kid, you got like your crew. You got your tight knit circle, your friends that are really friends. And I had a great group in junior high and high school. And then after that, you start working, and I'm kind of antisocial, and I don't really, I'm not really gonna go out to the bar all the time or go out to parties and clubs. I wasn't really into that as an adult. I loved that when I was like 17, 18, but by the time I was like 20, I was kind of like, no, I don't really want to do any of that anymore. And so in my 20s, it's like my friend, we lived in different places. The guys I was really friends with didn't live in my immediate proximity anymore. And I still had some good friends, but we'd see each other a few times a year, stuff like that. I had guys I hung out with, it's not, you have people at work you like that you hang out with. But it wasn't like, it wasn't that kind of, I didn't feel that same level of camaraderie that I felt in high school or junior high. This is the first time I've felt that since then, right? So this place for me is just, it has so many cool people, just so many cool people that you can be any level of friends with, right? From like super tight, you know everything about each other, to like just people you say hi to on the street, but that you really like. And there's not a whole lot of people, there's very few people that I'm saying hi to that I don't actually genuinely really like them. And then yeah, if you're someone who does stuff, which I don't really, but if you're someone, who attends things and likes events and likes gatherings, there's a million of them all the time. And some of them are public in the sense that they're held somewhere that people know about. Others are private, where it's just groups of people getting together for all kinds of stuff. And the diversity of those things is incredible. I mean, a friend of ours who you guys both know, I won't shout him out just in case he doesn't want it on the pod, but a friend of ours who both walked into a meeting with us the other day with a Magic the Gathering card set, and he was on his way to like a Magic the Gathering game night with a bunch of guys who do this, right? That's shocking. Like,
you didn't know that. You're like, here? What?
Right.
And he's only been here for less than a month, too. It's just important to know.
Yeah.
People find their people, like wherever you are. Please continue.
No, I mean, yeah, so there's all the normal stuff, and there's all the stuff for kids as well, which we'll get into. Next topic is we didn't do that yet, right? Parenting in Vilcabamba. That's next. There's all the stuff for kids, but there's all the stuff for the adults too, right? Whether it's music, or whether it's activities, or whether it's trips, or friends take trips all the time, whether it's day trips or overnight, into other regions, because in this region we're really close to lots of other cool stuff, right? Like within an hour, say an hour and a half from Loja, you've got a cold climate, you've got a desert climate, you've got the Amazon, you've got Vilcabamba. So you can go to Zamora, or you can go down the road south into the jungle as well. All kinds of day trips, families, like we've been to the coast with multiple families a number of times. That's really fun. And then the other thing I'll say too is with the social life is, like, back home, everybody's busy and stressed out. And it's not that people can't stay busy here. Like, I'm busy. I work a lot. I know all three of us actually are very busy. It's like a lot of people are busy, but it's a different level of busy. It's not the busy from back home. It's not the stress from back home. And you don't need as much planning and coordination to get together. Everybody lives within 10, 15 minutes of each other at the most. A lot of people live 2, 3, 4, or 5 minutes from one another, right? So when you want to hang out, you can just walk to town and you're going to see a whole bunch of friends. And if you got a half an hour, you can just sit there and drink a coconut or have a juice or have a beer or whatever you're into, and shoot the shit for a while. If you want to make plans, you can do that. But the plans tend to be much easier to execute. It's not like, New York, you want to go see your buddy, you got to you're either driving and dealing with traffic, or you're getting on the train and doing an hour on the train, and then an hour back when it's over, and it's
you gotta get on their calendar 3 weeks in advance.
You got, or at least yeah. And I think that's true countrywide. Like, I think parents schedule stuff way out in advance, and people don't really do that here at all. It's like, hey, what are you up to Saturday? Like, oh, I'm doing this and this. Oh, you want to come? Yeah, let's. Right? It's just that kind of thing. So, I've enjoyed the social scene here quite a bit.
What I love like the most. Other than making plans, I don't enjoy making a plan as much, because I'm always late because of children. So I'm like always like, wow, why it takes me so long to get there? But it's because I have a lot of going on. But I love, because of that, I love my spontaneous relationships. When I decide just to go to town, I have like an hour. I'm just going to have a juice, and like somebody shows up, and I'm like, I have a great time without planning, and like more authentic conversations that when I plan to see somebody and like make like the whole thing, what I'm gonna talk to her, what can I tell her, but it's more real when I just go to town. And like, even if like when I go do the food shopping, for example, like it's not like an easy job to do the food shopping, because every time you go to the store, you're gonna find people that is there like doing the same food shopping, and then like it takes like maybe 20 minutes in that store just talking to this person, which is lovely. But if you're in a rush trying to making the food shopping only, like, it's just impossible. So yeah.
You can't go to town and stay out of conversations. It's not possible.
Yes.
Which is both awesome and a total pain in the ass. Like both.
Exactly. Yeah.
On the rare occasion that I've actually been in a rush, because that doesn't happen that often, but it's like I'm running late and I told someone I'd be there. I've actually one time skirted like the outside block of town to go from one tienda to the next. I could have gone in a straight line, but it's like the street where everybody is. I walked all the way around like 3/4 of a block to get to the store because I couldn't stop and talk to anybody, and you feel a little bit rude.
Exactly. Yes.
Of course, I could always just say like, you know what, I'm on my way. Like, we'll talk soon. But I just was like, I can't. It's impossible. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
And then there's people who I really want to see, so I'm kind of torn. Do I become even later and talk? And the synchronicity idea that you're just speaking about, of like who you happen to see, that there's a reason why you bumped into them, or you just go to town for you have 1 hour, like, have no agenda. And also, I bump into you sometimes in town. It's like, oh my gosh, like we don't see each other all the time anyway. And then your kids are always hanging around, and they've got either little kids or other adults who know them really well. Like, everyone actually has their own little synchronistic, unplanned experiences, which that is quite unique for me. And I think in any city or town in New York, or in the United States, it have to be New York, you don't often just go to the square and hang out for 1 hour knowing that you're going to have wonderful conversation. Like, it's
I don't think that's a thing back home.
No, it's an actual thing. I know exactly what you're speaking about. And it's like, I'm just going to let magic happen and just see who comes my way.
And then, like, I think about it, like, wow, I was not going that way, but I decided to go that way. And I made this person, like, wow, I really love, like, how, like, the universe works.
Yeah.
Yes.
That does really seem to happen. Or you think of somebody and then you see them on the street. Like, that is a lot. Like, a lot.
It's the trailer for the esoteric Vilcabamba. Just saying, drop a like if that's what you like to hear about.
Which is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that.
No, it is. We're going to talk about all this kind of stuff.
All right, well, let's jump into the kids subject. So, raising kids in Vilcabamba. So, obviously, a lot of people have that question. You know, am I going to find a good school? Are they going to have friends? What about the language? Are there activities? Is it safe? All those kinds of things if you have kids and you're thinking about coming down. So we're parents. We have 3 kids, 14, 2, and 4. So we kind of run the gamut. My 14-year-old daughter has been here since she was 5, so I did that whole thing, and now my kids are my oldest son now is almost 5. So I've basically done 0 through 14 in Vilcabamba, in Loja, Vilcabamba area. And it's interesting. It's changed a bit over the years. There's really one major con to me, there's like one major negative, which that with a caveat, there is one that people like, but there's not a great school. There's not a great school in Vilcabamba. That will change. Somebody will do it. We're gonna get to it in the next couple of years if no one else does. But there isn't a great sort of private alternative education type school. There's public schools. There is a private school in town. Kids do send their kids there. There's kind of has mixed reviews, but there isn't like an A+ school. There's not a school that parents are excited of. Oh, this is in Vilcabamba, awesome! I'm gonna go there because there's this great school, right? They don't have that. There's some decent schools in Loja, so you can do that. Back in the day, a lot of families did do that, sort of commuted. So a lot of people homeschool, right? A lot of people homeschool here. A lot of kids do online schooling. There's people that are into unschooling and sort of free range, whatever. And, you know, there's different philosophies there. But what it does have that sort of makes up for that is it has all these clubs and groups and activities. So there's almost an unlimited amount. I mean, we could sit here naming and kids activities for the next 20 minutes that they have in Vilcabamba. You know, from the most obscure stuff like archery and, you know, all kinds of stuff to the most common, right? All the normal stuff, the sports and the dance and the theater and what?
Clay as well.
Clay. And yeah, I mean, there's literally, we could spend a long time trying to name them. So that's really cool. And then there's a lot of parents groups, and there's parents that get together and do different stuff like that. And then there's clubs that are into different stuff, and then there's kids organized stuff as well. So in general, you know, I think with the caveat of the no great school, gosh, it's A+. You know, it's safe for the kids, right? You're not constantly under threat and worrying about who's around and where's the kid, and you know, it's safe for the kids. And their friend group is going to be A+. There's so many kids of all ages, so they're going to make friends quickly. Like, I literally have not seen a kid come here, and I've seen hundreds and hundreds of kids. I've not seen a kid come here and not find a social group relatively quickly. Like, I've never seen a kid 6 months later not have a group of friends. Like, usually like a few weeks they're starting to make some friends, and they're getting incorporated into things, and their parents are networking, and they're learning, oh, there's this, there's this, there's this. So that stuff's awesome. The climate is so conducive to kids just being outside. Like, I don't think there's any kids that live here that spend their time playing video games. Like, I don't think that exists. I don't. If it does, I haven't seen it. It's just there's so much to do, and there's so much nature stuff, and the weather's so good. Kids go to the park. Like, they're at the. It's like when we grew up. If you're my age, right? Like we didn't stay inside as kids. You know, we went outside. That's what we did. We ride our bikes, and we played sports, and we got in trouble, and skinned our knees and did all the stuff that that we did back in the day. And I think back home now, the kids don't really do that. The kids kind of play video games and live their life kind of on a screen. And that's not the case here, right? You go to anytime you go to the park, there's packs of kids playing. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I would say, in general for me, I've really enjoyed raising kids here. Now, granted, she does most of the work, so you probably have a lot to share on the subject, but that's been my experience.
Yeah, well, I share with you, like, not having the ability to have something that, for example, for me would be good for my children to grow. And every parent will have like one direction that wants to be their children. So I respect that completely. But for myself, no, I haven't found what is exactly what I want, which is like grow my children with knowing real stuff, things that are gonna be using in their lives. So whatever I can teach them, I'll do at home, like gardening and stuff like that, cooking, and real stuff like draw. We do stuff that they can be creative. I don't want to limit their brains. I want them to like be more wide open. So I haven't been able to find that for my children, so I'm taking care of that myself, which is not easy, to be quite honest. But I think there is something planning to happen. So I'm looking forward for something good to happen. And yeah, and it's like I respect every perspective. Like, like every parent is responsible how their children is gonna be at the end of the day. So I do not want to be like or do like what everybody does, because I'm gonna be responsible of something that I didn't want my children to be. So I'm trying to I don't want to rely on others people's opinions, how they raise their children. Obviously, if I like how's it going, or like I usually I'm asking for advice how they do these things from parents that like I respect how the children are growing. So yeah, I'm learning every day to do a good job for my children, and I feel good about it. So yeah, there is a lot of activities. My children, one is 4, and he's bilingual right now. He speaks English and Spanish. So he's being exposed to the nanny, because I speak English pretty much at home. So, but the nanny that he spent some time, she speaks Spanish, so he finally got it to speak completely Spanish. I'm very proud of him. And so is Kirsten. Kirsten is bilingual, and I'm hoping my little one is my Joseph, 2 years old, he's also gonna be like that. So yeah, I like that. But yeah, and there is people that like puts them into like learning more languages, like spending time with someone that speak Italian, French, and stuff like that, for the children to learn more languages. You kind of have to find your way on what you want your children to learn, but I think there is options available for sure. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that is kind of what we got for today. Anything else you ladies want to touch on before we get out of here?
Feels good. No?
No, it's good.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this content, please put a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell as well, which notifies you when there's new content. If you have questions, if you have anything to say, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Lifestyle retreat, July 21st, listed below in a link. And Brandon and Carl will be back next week to share some of their adventures as they have been traveling or are still traveling in Carl's case. And we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much.
Thank
Ciao.
you.